Hello, everybody. Lee McCroskey here from Nashville, Tennessee. I appreciate you joining me today. We're going to be talking about law number 7 of Maxwell's 21 laws, the law of respect. That's right, the law of respect. So if you're taking notes, and I know you will, write this down. People naturally follow people stronger than themselves. People naturally follow people stronger than themselves. That's one of Maxwell's important points. And under the law of respect, he shares an interesting story about an American heroine, female version of hero. Heroine, not heroin, as you're thinking. Her name was Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman. She lived from 1820 to 1860 something, 1870. So a long time ago. And if you had seen or met Harriet Tubman, your first impression in terms of respect you probably wouldn't have been impressed. She was a former slave. She was about 5 feet tall, missing 2 front teeth. Skin was weathered and worn from working in the fields, and she had escaped slavery. And just prior to the American Civil War, started helping her fellow slaves who were still in bondage in the southern part of the United States. Interesting because although she had no status, no title, she couldn't read or write, she founded what was called the Underground Railroad. And that's not an actual train that you could ride, but what she would do is for about half the year, she would scrimp and save and work part-time jobs to save enough money to work her way back down from the north, where she was free, to the south, where the slaves were. And she would try to free slaves and help them sneak back north to freedom. So naturally in the south, the plantation owners hated her. They put a $12,000 bounty on her head because they didn't appreciate all their slaves being freed by this woman. And wow. Amazing story. She took 19 trips south. She freed over 300 slaves on these trips and earned the respect not only of her fellow slaves, but of abolitionists from the north, from politicians. She got to know William Seward, who was Abraham Lincoln's Secretary of State, and began speaking at churches later on and holding rallies and things like that, and was a major factor in emancipating the slaves. But she had strong character. She was very brave and courageous to do what she did, because she could have been captured at any point and hung. So Harriet Tubman earned the respect, and at first, given her circumstances, would not have had the respect that most of us enjoy. All right. So fast forwarding ahead to 1967, some of you know the Aretha Franklin hit Respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, Respect, that hit record. Ever since people have been around, folks have been demanding respect. And in the United States, we spend a lot of time yelling at each other, demanding respect. I demand your respect. And that's odd, since respect is something that must be earned rather than, with action, and less so with just words. Some people are naturally respected. Others have to work for it. But it can kind of depend on the people around you, your environment, and you can influence that. You can increase the law of respect. You can increase how others respect you if you do some things, which we're going to cover here. So it's never too late to start earning respect as a leader if you feel like it's lacking. You should take an honest look at yourself and look at how you treat people around you, because that is going to be one huge quotient in your respectfulness, how it's given and gotten. Okay? Not a great sentence. What the heck? So let me share with you 5 tips on gaining respect and increasing your own self-respect, right? So let's write this down. Number 1, start with them. Start with them. The number 1 obstacle to earning respect is narcissism. Narcissism, that's someone who's very much they very much value themselves. They're into themselves. Okay. So if the first impression you get is that you're all about you, that's a huge turnoff. You've got a tough hill to climb to be respected. So I'd recommend that you sort of act as an observer in social situations before you take action. Show interest, show sympathy, empathy, both. If you authentically work to improve just your office environment for the betterment of everybody, you'll get all kinds of respect. There's a cool book that you might want to pick up. It came out some years back called The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. The Purpose-Driven Life. He's a pastor, an American pastor, but he wrote this book, and I remember opening it for the first time, flipped to the chapter 1. I'm like, yeah, okay, self-improvement. Here we go. And the first line says, it's not about you. It's not about you. And all of us, we immediately typically think of ourselves first. So he was saying, no, to have a purpose-driven life needs to be about others. So start with them, number 1. Number 2, second tip to increase respect is to find respect for yourself first. That's what we're talking about. Find respect for yourself before you can start earning it from others. Forget hoping for respect. Some people are going to respect you, some aren't. You can't control that. So if you focus on feeling good about yourself and what you're doing, you find ways to measure what you do and evaluate yourself using those standards. Cool. If you're doing what's right, what's best, what works for you, and thinking about others in the process, you're going to do fine. You're going to get respect. You know, there's a great book. I'll mention another book as a bonus by Ken Blanchard. It's called The 1 Minute Salesperson. And since all of us are in sales, the 1 Minute Salesperson, one of the punchlines in that book, the themes, in order to coach yourself well, is you have to catch yourself doing things right. Catch yourself doing things right. And if you do that, it's something that's not natural. Most of us are really good at catching ourselves doing things wrong. You know, we finish the day at work and we come back and go, man, I messed that up. I blew that close. And oh man, I didn't even know that person canceled. That was embarrassing. We always kind of scan mentally for what we didn't do right. Now, what's really useful is to catch yourself doing things right. So I did this right. I had the right tone. I used the words of the approach correctly. I was assumptive in the these are things you have to notice about yourself, because as you build your confidence, it builds your respect. Okay? So if you got respect for yourself, that's the best respect of all. All right, number 3. You're ready for number 3. Write this down. Follow the golden rule. Follow the golden rule. What is the golden rule? Well, you need to flip to your Bibles and open to one of Jesus' important sayings. He said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Simple. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you follow that rule, you'll be great. You'll earn respect. People will like you. They'll want to be around you. To gain respect, you've got to be worthy of being respected. So you got to be a good person. You've got to look for the best in other people. You have to have good follow through. You've got to, when you make a promise, you got to keep it. You have to tell the truth. Be transparent. Be real. And care about people. Say thank you. Simple stuff. You know, we have talked in previous broadcasts about the 4 habits of referability. The 4 habits of referability, once again, in review, we should talk about this every week from Dan Sullivan. Be on time. Do what you say. Finish what you start. Say please and thank you. You do those things, you're going to get referrals. You're going to get people who want to be around you because you will be so different than most people, right? So follow the golden rule. Treat people like you'd like to be treated. Number 4, begin with self-confidence. Self-confidence. Got to start there. So if you're thinking about gaining respect from other people, you've got to start with you. And when people lack self-confidence, you can pick up on it. I mean, think about somebody that you met that didn't seem like they had confidence. You picked up on it quickly. consciously, subconsciously, it's easy to spot. And people who become overly absorbed in their quest for admiration, you know, people like that, they definitely appear to lack confidence, right? So you just got to let that go. Don't worry about being admired and have everyone paying attention to you. Live your purpose, help others, enjoy the process. You'll be a magnet for respect. Now, one little aside here I want to share with you. In starting with yourself and starting with your self-confidence, here's the tiniest little victory you can have. Keep little commitments that you make to yourself and to others. Little commitments. Like if you've decided, you know what, I'm going to start not eating dessert. Then when you go out to eat, you look at the menu, you don't even flip to the dessert page because that's not part of your deal anymore. You keep that little commitment. Do it once, and then you'll go, oh, catch yourself doing things right. I didn't eat dessert. Yay. And I'm on my way to getting into being more healthy. If you've decided I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, that means I've got to set my alarm 30 minutes early, get up and do that. That's a little commitment. If you do it and you get in the habit of setting the alarm and sitting up when it goes off, cool. That's a little commitment that will build your own self-confidence. That'll convince you, that little habit will convince you that you're making progress. You'll have more respect for yourself. Same thing applies to others. Keeping little commitments to them. And we just talked about that on point 3. So that consistency will pay off in terms of confidence and self-respect. Do what you say. All right, number 5, last one. Understand that respect is reflected. I like this. I got this from Inc. magazine, from an article. Respect is a direct reflection of how you treat other people. This is a recurring theme, right? So building respect takes time, and it's earned as you interact with other people. And you see, folks, it's easy to overcompensate. They start giving orders. They start micromanaging tasks. If they're managers, they start bragging about their accomplishments. They start in a meeting. They'll want to make sure that the boss knows that that was their idea. You know, they want to take credit for that, right? They demand attention. And that kind of behavior pushes others away. And it actually, you know, results in less respect, has the opposite effect. So a real common problem for new managers. I remember I was sitting in a cafe when I was working with Southwestern, and there was a young student manager who was working with students that he had recruited on his sales team. They were sitting around, they were getting ready to have breakfast, and he was actually teaching about respect, how important it was to treat each other well, to follow the golden rule, to have respect for those that may not have the same title as you. And as he went to that, as people were taking notes, and I remember partway through, about 15 minutes in, he says, okay, hang on. Hey, where's our coffee? We've been here for 15 minutes. What's going, you know? So he was kind of going, he was kind of going off on the waitress and disrespecting her, and also embarrassing himself and his team, and also proving the fact that respect is a reflection of how you treat others. So he lost respect, I'm sure, with his teammates, and we talked about it later. Okay, so qualities of the most respected people I know are qualities that you don't usually find in typical lists on 10 things you can do to be a great leader. Here are a few. Quietness is a great way to interact with people. Just being quiet. Being a good listener. Huge. Thoughtfulness. How can I be thoughtful with somebody? Curiosity. Asking questions. Those traits, although they're not the big ones, you know, they're not be bold, be courageous, take charge. They seem quieter, but they show the desire to be respected by others. And great ways to interact with other people. So the more you can take the focus off yourself and put it on others, the more respect that you will probably earn. All right. And when leaders like that have those traits make an unpopular decision, you know, the team is going to accept that because they respect their leader, because they know their heart. All right. So those are the 5 things that we can take away from the law of respect. with Maxwell. You can look up Harriet Tubman, her biography. Interesting read. Look that up online. She's a very courageous woman. So a couple thoughts as we wrap up. Here's some questions you can think about. Number one, was there a time you didn't feel respected? How did you change that? Two, look at the people that you attract. Who's around you? Who chooses to follow you? That will be an indicator of the law of respect to some degree. Okay? Another question you should think about. What will you do as a leader today that you haven't done in the past to be more respected? Thoughtful. Good. Go be thoughtful. So I'll wrap up. Started with Bruce Lee. Here's a great proverb. It says, life is like an echo. What you send out comes back. Same with respect. Respect is the same way. Another quote. This is one to write down too. We cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. We cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. By Max Dupree. Important. Change is good. Change for the better is good. All right? So think about those things. Ponder the law of respect. Think about, how am I respected? How do I respect myself? How is my respectfulness reflected in other people? Okay? Have a great week. Be productive. We'll talk again. Thanks for tuning in. See ya. And